Regardless of how long you've been into the genre, every hip-hop head has, at one point in their fandom, found themselves embroiled in the genre's eternal debate. Who's the GOAT? Who's the greatest rapper of all time? Ask a dozen rap fans the question and you'll likely get a whole bunch of different answers. Collectively, there'll never be a consensus. But that's part of the fun of it. Whether you base your choice on influence, record sales, charisma, lyricism, versatility, flow, cadence, or vocal tone, it's something you could spend a lifetime picking apart. And as for us, well, in determining our own list, we're going to use a combination of everything I've just mentioned. Because the vast majority of this is subjective, let's get some debate going. Let us know your own personal lists once we're done here. Head on down to the comment section, throw them out there, and if your favourite rapper isn't mentioned, stick around for some honourable mentions at the end. I'm Andy for WhatCulture Music, and here are the 10 best rappers of all time. Number 10. Kendrick Lamar. Of all the people on our list, Kendrick's legacy is the most difficult to assess because he's still in his prime and only really broke out in 2012. But regardless, when you look at his body of work, his skill, and his impact on the hip-hop underground and mainstream, it's hard to keep his name out of the conversation. Good Kid, Mad City, and To Pimp a Butterfly are juggernaut albums. Hailed as instant classics as soon as they came out, they're the kind of records we already look back on as benchmarks despite coming out less than a decade ago. And if you need selling on his impact, consider that Kendrick won a Pulitzer Prize in 2018, a bloody Pulitzer Prize, becoming the first ever hip-hop artist to do so. With time, if the quality of Kendrick's releases continues, it's easy to see him shooting even further up lists like this. Number 9. Andre 3000. Free Stacks is occasionally overlooked in this debate because he rose to prominence and enjoyed his most prolific run as an MC while part of a duo. As one half of Outkast, he helped Southern hip-hop evolve beyond its roots as straightforward party music. Now, don't get me wrong, Andre and Big Boy did that style very well, but their experimentation, sharp storytelling, and rich kaleidoscopic sound helped push the genre forward, and he was always one hell of a spitter. Take his final verse on Elevators as an example of Andre's technical brilliance. Those bars stand up against anything any rapper has ever produced. And while he hasn't exactly been prolific music-wise since Outkast stopped releasing albums, his sparse guest appearances spark excitement like few others in the genre. Number 8. Scarface. It's astonishing to think about how many rappers that Scarface influenced that went on to sell millions, yet the man himself has never reached the same level of success. An original Ghetto Boys member, Face eventually broke off to do his own thing, releasing slews of albums that made a major impact on mafioso rap. If the West had Tupac and the East had Biggie, then the answer down south was definitely Scarface. Best known for his tough-talking rhymes and booming, commanding delivery, he mixed his southern slang with storytelling raps and made it sound fresh. And at the very least, the Fix and the Diary belong in any self-respecting hip-hop head's collection. Number 7. KRS-One. More a lyrical warrior and a teacher rather than just a mere rapper, KRS-One spat Hot 16s on a level no one could match as he rose to prominence with Boogie Down Productions. He was way ahead of his time, showing off articulateness and intelligence that compelled fans to go through the liner notes as he rapped, and with every line delivered in that powerful voice, the Blastmaster made you stand up and take note. Records like Sound of the Police, MCs Act Like They Don't Know, My Philosophy, and of course The Bridge Is Over helped forge the blueprint for what lyrical hip-hop would eventually become. KRS can't be denied. Number 6. Rakim. If you want to make a GOAT argument on bars, delivery, and influence alone, Rakim might just be your number 1. In a genre characterized in part by braggadocio, his nickname, the God MC, has never been in question, and regardless of your tastes, he almost certainly inspired a few of your favorite rappers to pick up a microphone in the first place. Rakim's early work alongside Eric B was particularly revolutionary. He delivered intricate wordplay with a calm, effortless delivery that made rapping sound oh so easy. His flow was never in doubt, and he could go bar for bar with anyone. And the man himself said it best on My Melody. I'm number 1, competition is none, I'm measured with the heat that's made by the sun. Number 5. Eminem. It's hard to imagine this now that he's among the highest selling musical artists of all time, but Eminem's rise was an underdog story, with the Detroit MC overcoming a horrific upbringing to rise up at a time when his home city wasn't exactly churning out successful rappers, with perseverance and, of course, pure talent taking him all the way to the top. The Slim Shady LP was his coming out party, and next came the Marshall Mathers LP, presenting M at his lyrical best, with his perverse sense of humour and graphic and clever punchlines meshing perfectly with Dr. Dre's incredible production. He's had a few creative missteps over the years, this is true, but the rap god can still bring the heat today, and as far as straight up rapping goes, no white boy has ever crushed it like this. Number 4. Tupac. The West Coast legend earns this lofty spot not only for the impact he had on hip-hop, but the effect he had on the world around him as a whole, with his importance as a 90s cultural icon impossible to deny. Now, while Tupac wasn't quite on the same level as a guy like Rakim when it came to technicality, his rugged, relatable, and brutally honest lyrics about life connected with millions. He was a rebel, an anti-establishment force who feared no man on the planet, and his versatility shone in a discography with heavy, hard-hitting tracks like Ambitions as a Rider, sitting comfortably alongside the likes of Dear Mama, more somber songs, and even the odd pop banger along the way. An icon, a force of nature, and a great MC, Pac changed everything. Number 3. Nas. One word. Illmatic. Okay, I'm gonna give you a bit more than that, but even if Nas's classic debut album was the sole argument for his inclusion in the GOAT discussion, it's a strong one. There are dozens of reasons why so many people consider the Queensbridge MC's seminal 5-mic record the best in hip-hop history, and speaking personally, I don't think anyone's ever bettered it. While his ear for beats has often been questioned, Nas's bars have not. A powerful, authoritative force on the microphone, his lyricism and wordplay have never been anything less than A+. And while dozens of rappers have called themselves the King of New York over the years, for a while, it was Nas and his gritty street tales that ruled the 5 boroughs. And although Illmatic remains an unmatchable pillar, his entire discography is peppered with greatness. I mean, even Nostradamus had a couple of catchy songs along the way. Number 2. The notorious B.I.G. Choosing between the rappers in our top 5, well, top 6, respect to Rakim, was incredibly tough. And of all the other people to miss out on the number 1 spot, Biggie has the strongest case for GOAT status. That the conversation still largely revolves around him 22 years after his death speaks volumes. He was a lyrical juggernaut with perhaps the greatest voice in hip-hop history. Ready to Die, his classic debut, had everything from hard-hitting hardcore joints like Gimme the Loot to club-popping singles like Juicy and Big Papa. It's timeless, and after achieving near instant success, the man-born Christopher Wallace was able to avoid the dreaded sophomore slump with Life After Death, a continuation of the greatness established on his first album and a showcase of just how much he'd matured as a rapper. Nobody has ever weaved a story in rhyme as well as Biggie did. He is, without question, one of the most important artists in hip-hop history, maybe the most important in New York hip-hop history, and he left us with some of the most impactful rhymes, verses, and stories that the genre has ever produced. And at number 1, JayZ. Now, your mileage probably varies on releases like Kingdom Come, but let's consider the other factors that contribute towards JayZ's GOAT argument. Consider Reasonable Doubt. Consider The Blueprint, the Black Album, and the fact that he's still here killing it 16 years after his fake retirement record. Consider his longevity and that he's been doing this since he first started showing up on Jazz-O recordings in the late 80s. Consider the sheer depth of his discography and how he could easily trump many rappers' best-of collections with a smattering of album tracks. JayZ is the king of flow, a guy who squashed every beef he was ever in, an inspiration to almost anyone who's ever picked up a microphone over the past 20 years, the world's first hip-hop billionaire, and 12 of his 13 solo albums have gone to number 1. He might be pushing 50, but in our view, Jay is peerless, ageless, and of course, the greatest rapper of all time. So that's our list, and with a topic of this size, of course, there are boatloads of notable exclusions. So here's to our honourable mentions. We've got Ice Cube, Big Pun, Ghostface Killah, MF Doom, Snoop Dogg, Black Thought, and Q-Tip. All of them certainly belong in the conversation, and it's with great regret that we couldn't squeeze them in. But what do you guys think? Head on down to the comment section and let us know. Let's get some discussion going on this. And once you've done that, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, and then if you want to hurl some abuse, you can find me on Twitter at Andy H. Murray. I'm really sorry I didn't fit your favourite rapper on the list. Thank you, and good night.